Hello, and welcome to our first ever episode of Fear Feeding Friday, where we are going to try to upload a episode every Friday on Fridays because why not? And also, what makes this podcast a little more interesting is we are definitely going to we decided to combine the two together. We love true crime, unsolved mystery, and paranormal activities. So we decided, why not combine the two? Might be abnormal, but it's okay. That's what we're going to do. My name is Lena. I am from Toronto, and I've always had a huge interest in true crime, unsolved mystery, and paranormal activities. Because, a lot of stuff makes me wonder. It makes you wonder why people do the stuff that they do. It makes me wonder why ghosts want to possess the things they want to possess. So I decided it'd be a great opportunity to start this podcast where I can do my own research and find out answers for myself, even if no one else wants to listen to us. That's perfectly fine. But I decided that I want to do this podcast with my dear sister. So I have invited her on to be a co-host.
Hello, my name's Lynn, and I live in Ottawa, but I'm also from Toronto. I started this podcast with my sister because she brought up the idea, and I've also always loved true crime and mysteries and paranormal activities. So I was like, okay, that sounds really interesting. So why not?
And now here we are. So before we get started, we're just going to tell you quickly what we're eating. So you'll hear us eating in the background. I am doing Starbucks today because I was too lazy to cook. I got a lemon loaf that's melted in my bag and those two little egg white situations that they've started at Starbucks and a venti size caramel ice macchiato.
And for me, I have made some congee, and I put it together along with some cured pork that I made the other day.
Ooh, delish. So today, we're going to talk about the famous hotel in Ottawa because it's haunted. And we like the sound of that. And it's supposedly the most haunted hotel in Canada, which I thought was surprising and really hard to believe, considering the fact that Canada is ginormous and it's huge and there's a lot of spirit walking this earth. But okay, we'll go with that.
I would like to point out to not confuse that with a hostel, because we're not saying that's more haunted than certain other places. It's just the most haunted hotel.
This is true now. Very true. So we are going to talk about the famous hotel that sits in Ottawa like a giant castle called, what is it called now?
It's called Château Laurier.
It's called the Château Laurier. You will find that I do this a lot. I lose my trail of thoughts, or I just forget words, or I forget how to speak altogether. But hey, that's okay. That's why I have a co-host.
That's why a podcast is perfect.
So Lynn, why don't you tell me a little bit more about the story, since she came to me with this story. That's what intrigued me.
So, a couple years back, I went on a haunted walk in Ottawa with some friends, and we passed by the Château Laurier. And I pass by it every day for work, so I never really thought much of it. And they had told me that there have been many sightings of a ghost within the Château Laurier, kind of like, I believe, in the stairs and somewhere on the higher floors. And they believe it to be Charles Hayes, the man who started this project and wasn't able to see the completion of it. So now he haunts the halls, kind of watching over his hotel and making sure everything's dead.
Which is sort of creepy, but kind of cool at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, which we consider him as a guardian angel that's watching over his hotel, or...
I think so. Like, because from what I know, like, none of the sightings seem like
malicious,
evil intentions kind of thing. Yeah, malicious. So, who knows?
This is true now. So we're going to rewind a little bit, and we're going to find out who Charles Melville Hayes is. So from what we understood, he decided to have this hotel commission, and he had his commission because he wanted to expand his business. He is the general manager of a really big railway in Canada. It's called the Grand Trunk Railway. So I guess he wanted to build hotels that coincide with his tracks, so that way when I guess visitors come off, they immediately have a place to stay that was luxurious, gorgeous, and what have you. So that's part of kind of how he got started. So let's go back. We went a little bit to the beginning. In 1912, he had gone to Europe to pick out a dining room furniture for the hotel. But unfortunately, on April the 15th, he had actually gone down with the Titanic and never made it back for the grand opening of his hotel, which was set to open 2 weeks later. Which also kind of weird, because usually I always like to believe that where you supposedly pass is usually where your spirits kind of stays, or hopefully cross over. So it makes me wonder if, like, did, aside from the body, like, did they bring something back that allow him to travel with this object? Because, you know, like in Supernatural, the only way haunting can happen, or if they can travel, is if because like the spirit is attached to an object of some sort. So it makes me wonder if that was the case, aside from his body, you know, because they did bring back his body for burial, of course, but I don't think he was attached to his body, because hello, he was dead. So I don't think that was the reason. But hey, anyways, we're gonna rewind a little bit, and we're gonna find out who exactly is this Hayes guy and what is he all about.
So Charles was born in Rock Island, Illinois, on May 15th in 1856. So he was American. His family later moved to St. Louis, Missouri. In Missouri is where he built his career in the railroad business, working for the Atlantic and Pacific Railroad. After working his way up, he became the general manager to the Grand Trunk Railway, which is a GTR of Canada.
To rewind a little bit further, on October 13th, 1881, he married Clara Jennings, and together they had four daughters. Jennings. And together they had four daughters. I'm gonna go ahead and let you say their names.
Laurier, Clara, Marjorie, and Louise.
Oh, that's cute. Clara's named after the mother, Clara.
Mm-hmm.
At least I hope. Watch me get this information wrong. My bad. I mean, we know that he had four daughters. That much we knew. Okay, we knew he had four daughters. So that's the little story of him and who he is. We didn't find much information in terms of his personal life and what else he did, other than what we already just know. But so we do know that he just obviously decided to travel to Europe to purchase a dining room furniture for what would be known now as the Château Laurier Hotel. And it was actually named after the 7th Canadian Prime Minister, Sir Wilfrid Laurier. And it's such a cool way of word vomit. So that's all we know. And what's interesting is that while he was in Europe, he actually had other plans to board a different boat to come back from Europe. But instead, 3 days before he had boarded this planned ship, he decided to reach out to his connections, because for some strange reason he was sort of stingy with his money. So he wanted to see if there was a way that he could try to save money and what have you. So he used his connections, which he knew a lot of powerful people. Like, this guy was very well known. He used his connection, and 3 days before boarding the original plan, he had managed to get himself and his wife and his daughter, his son-in-law, his maid, his secretary, onto the Titanic. I mean, that's awesome, because the Titanic looks gorgeous, and who wouldn't want to travel on the Titanic? Little did they know, of course.
So when the Titanic struck an iceberg, Hayes decided to help save the women in his party first. And I'm sure he also helped other women get onto their lifeboats to get off, which in turn got him, his son-in-law, and his secretary to not be able to board any lifeboats. They actually sunk down with the ship.
Which is actually, like, so sad. Like, can you imagine? Like, you were there on a job. You would never expect to die. And now suddenly you're like, fuck, I'm dying on my job. Literally. And I have no say in the matter because, this guy has paid me to be here with him. His secretary. I mean, what does the secretary do on a boat or like while he's traveling? I wonder what because what's interesting.
I'm sure he's like in charge of like the paperwork and like finding connections and stuff like that.
And what's funny too is that while he was in Europe, he was actually really sick. So for a while, he couldn't actually leave his hotel either. So I'm just like, so what did everyone in his party do? Like, did they just go sightseeing and pick up furniture for him? Like, I don't even know. And I think what makes it more interesting for me is like, why did you all go all the way to Europe to buy a dining room furniture? Well, okay, maybe not A.
It was commissioned.
Maybe not A, but that's a little extreme. Anyways, what's interesting is that for a while, they couldn't figure out which daughter had actually passed away on the Titanic. I'm not entirely sure why they couldn't figure it out because, in the sense that like, didn't the daughter that was alive was like, I'm here, I'm not dead, but I guess not. I don't know what to make of that. But what made it more interesting was there was another woman that had boarded the ship named Margaret Hayes, and she had managed to escape with her Pomeranian lady. So I think that's where the confusion lied, because it turns out Orion actually didn't even register her name on the boat. It was her husband that registered their names. So I guess she was his +1. Yeah, so that's where I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. But still, it still makes you wonder, like, didn't like your family go, yeah, no, my sister Orion died, not me, or like, because they did have a sister named Margaret also, right? So it's like, didn't the real Margaret was like, no, my sister died, not me. I don't know.
Well, like at the same time, they didn't really have like the conveniences we have of today, right? So it's possible that this rumor started and someone had written it down, but it was a while until someone realized that the real Margaret Hayes, or well, not real Margaret Hayes, but like the one that they're looking for, was alive and well. So it really depends on like the information where it was coming from, right?
Well, this is true.
I'm sure they were probably just looking at the records that Titanic had.
But I will say this. That Pomeranian, good job for escaping the Titanic. Good job. Good job, I mean, like, well, look at Jack and Rose. Jack did not surviving, So for a Pomeranian, you survived. Good for you. I will say that. So anyways, with that being said, it was a tragic, and they did find his body. They did bring him back for 2 different burial ceremonies. However, though, it did not delay the hotel from actually opening on his set date, which was April 26th, 1912. They did, however, have 2. So for a while, we couldn't figure out which date it actually launched, because during our research, some people said it was June 12th, some people said it was April 26th. Because of his death, it delayed the whole process by 7 months. But then there are some sources that says no, they had definitely opened when they had meant to open. So we have learned that both of those dates are actually correct. They did actually open on the 26th of April, 1912, as a soft opening, I guess, is what we call it these days. But they did actually do a grand opening on June 12th of 1912. So that much we definitely discovered.
To commemorate this stunning past, the Minister of Environment designated the Fairmont Château Laurier a National Historical Site of Canada. So that happened in 2017. Oh, wait, no. The Fairmont Château Laurier joined the Historic Hotels Worldwide in 2017.
Which is really recently, which I'm shocked that it took so long for them to be like, you're now considered a historical site that we cannot tear down or like mess with in any way, because you're now been around forever. So I thought that was really interesting, because I'm like, it took to 2017. That was only 3 years ago. Meanwhile, this hotel's been around for like...
There's like a certain amount of time that has to pass for you to become a historic site.
Bullshit. That's a long time.
We should have looked into that.
Well, shit. That's a really long time still. Um, well, like, also I found, like, I think from what I heard previously, too, is that, like, you can position, you can do a what's that word for it? A petition for it to be, yeah, an historical site a lot earlier if you feel like the hotel is being threatened. So, like, I don't think they're, obviously we can do, like, oh, yeah, we should have done our little research on that, but I know that, like, if the hotel was in a threat where, you know, like when some crazy rich ass contractor wants to tear it down and build something else for it, they can definitely fight for that and have it declare it a historical site a lot earlier. But who knows? Maybe they just felt like they didn't need to do that, you know, or what have you.
Well, the hotel is of course still running till this day, and it's always busy. Whenever I pass, it's always like crowded. Of course, not during like this pandemic, but overall, like it's usually very packed and very busy. The rooms, I think, from what I've seen, is that they update the rooms
They do.
Frequently. Like it's definitely, you don't go in and you think, wow, this is very run down or anything. It's very posh, very it looks like a castle. You go in and you feel like you're still in a castle. Like, it's really nice.
I was looking into it too, just to kind of see, and you're not wrong. Like they are very up to date with everything that they do, which is really nice. They're constantly keeping updated, keeping it like up to date in terms of style, technology wise, you know, all that stuff. And what's interesting though is it still shocks me by how much money that they charge, and people are like, yeah, it's totally worth the price. Like, why not? You know. It's about $300 a night to stay there, and apparently, if you want a breakfast, it's an additional $40.
Ooh, I'm like, expensive breakfast,
right? I'm like, what are you giving me? Pot of gold with real gold? Like,
who knows? Maybe, you know? Maybe there is sprinkled gold on it.
Seriously, but because of how big and beautiful this hotel is, they have some interesting, really famous like guests have stayed there. For example, we had Shirley Temple that stayed there. She's the renowned child actress. She's known for her role in Bright Eyes and The Little Princess. We have Harry Belafonte, who is a singer, apparently. We had Roger Moose. Whoops. My bad. And I'm gonna let you continue reading off the list because I'm definitely gonna butcher half of these names, and these bears are gonna be coming for me. Watch, I'm gonna be haunted tonight. These bears are gonna be coming for me.
Saying again, we have Roger Moore, renowned actor, best known for his reprisal of secret British agent James Bond. Smokey Robinson, renowned Motown singer and leader for the Miracles. Joseph Karsh, who is often described as the greatest portrait photographer of the 20th century. Herbert Hoover, 31st President of the U.S. from 1929 to 1933. Prime Minister Winston Churchill of the United Kingdom, 1940 to 1945, and also 1951 to 1955. King George, I actually don't know the number. I can't read Roman numerals.
It's okay. I think it says 5 or 6. Whoop. I'm sure we got that wrong. Oh, well, we got King George.
So, a King George of the United Kingdom between 1936 and 1952. Queen Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom, who's 1952, and she's still in power, present, alive and well. Nelson Mandela, anti-apartheid revolutionary and first president of South Africa, 1994 to 1999.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get to the main reason why we're here. We've given all the backstory. I've given all the little details of the cute hotel. But the real reason why we're here is because we've been told this hotel's haunted. However, we haven't been able to find any real evidence that this hotel is truly haunted. The most claims that we got from people is that they feel like they're being watched when they're in their quarters or in the hallways. A lot of people claim that throughout the hotel they feel like they felt like they've been touched. But that's usually in their hotel room. And I was watching a YouTube video where this guy had mentioned that this guy said that his shaving kit jumped off the counter of his bathroom and crashed onto the floor. But he knew it was like safe and tucked away because it was behind the faucet, which, I mean, again, it could be vibration from the hotel, so who knows? Another story that I found online was that apparently this person had stayed there, but they knew nothing of the hotel's history of it being haunted and what have you. But he claimed that when he woke up in the middle of the night, he felt someone sitting on a bed, sitting on his bed, and when he looked around, he didn't see anyone there. But that's like literally all I could find that was as concrete as to the hotel is haunting. Um, like, I don't know. It makes me wonder because it's like, is it even actually haunted, or do we think it's haunted because the fact that we have this knowledge, like subconsciously, we're like, yeah, this hotel is haunted, so things are happening, so things should be happening, or like you feel like things should happen because it's considered haunted, but like none of the stuff that we found was malicious or like considers evil, and they weren't doing no exorcism thing where people are spinning 360 onto the ceiling or what have you. So, it begs the question, like, there's no actual proof either that it's even actually Charles Hayes. We don't actually even know if it's really him. Mm-hmm. And on top of this, nobody has ever really talked to this Charles either and confirmed that it was him. So, I don't know, it makes me wonder, like, what are your thoughts on it, Lynn?
Well, it does definitely seem like it's a lot of speculation that it's him. Obviously, this hotel is very old. I believe it's like over 100 years old by now, and a lot of people have stayed there. So I'm sure at some point someone may have died, maybe a couple. Like, it's not uncommon for someone to pass away in a hotel. So it honestly could be anyone, really.
Right.
But at the same time, like going back to what you said earlier, where you said usually a ghost needs something to connect itself to a space to haunt it. So at the same time, I know that that's what we know, but at the same time, like, how are we even sure that's what they need to stay in a certain space, right?
This is true.
So,
now.
like, maybe, because that's all speculations on our part. We don't really know if a ghost or a spirit needs something of theirs to stay within a space.
But I think it's also interesting, though, too, because they're saying it's only certain floors. So then it makes you wonder, like, okay, because, again, we usually go back to what we normally know, and obviously these are not really proven. This is just what we speculate, that usually something happens on that floor where their spirit is trapped on that floor, right? So I think some people are saying that it was on the 14th floor that's really haunted. I don't know how big this hotel is, but it sounds ginormous if there's 14 floors already.
I've never been in it myself, so I can't really say. I just know it looks like very
giant,
massive,
huge castle
outside.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting. Like, and then it also makes you wonder too, like, what if it's not even him that's haunting the hotel, but maybe when they originally built the hotel, there was death on the grounds of that hotel. So there was that thought, because it is a really old hotel, and that obviously that land has been there forever. So it makes you wonder too, like, what was there prior to that? We don't even know. We don't know what happened prior to that, And so so it makes me interested to ask you, like, why is considered haunted aside from, and then back up a little bit. I've seen an interview where the manager of the hotel says she's been there for 15 years, and she also says that she doesn't really believe it to be haunted either, as she feels the odd time that someone's watching her, but in the odd occasion that she felt like she'd been touched, but nothing drastic enough that she feels like it's truly haunted.
Well, like, what is her definition of haunted? Because a lot of people think haunted means, like, something bad will happen. She literally just said that she also felt that sometimes she felt like she was touched or walked. So,
well, this is true now.
And so that's basically saying, like, yes, you have felt a presence there.
Well, this is true. And
so it's just that I didn't do anything bad.
Right. And what's interesting, too, is that people say they feel it throughout the hotel. So it really makes me wonder, like, how far does this particular spirit travel? You know, like,
I throughout the whole hotel, really.
right. But again, like, going back to what we have always speculated, they're always usually from what we hear, they're trapped in one particular area, right? So it's kind of interesting too. Makes me wonder, you know, like, how is this? Maybe there's more than one, and they just assume it's the same one.
Possibly, or it is just the one, but like that, they're because it's such an old spirit. It's able to go around the entirety of the hotel.
Which it's interesting because, like, I remember watching an episode of Supernatural because, you know, I refer all my stuff to Supernatural. And they were saying that if a spirit stays on Earth for too long, they actually become malicious, even though they weren't originally a malicious spirit. Because I guess they see life past them and they can't be a part of it. And I think there's a window as to when they're supposed to cross over. And if they don't cross over, they end up becoming a malicious spirit. So it makes me wonder as to why the spirit has never become malicious. I mean, obviously, those are speculation. We don't actually know if this is true or not, right? But based on many, many horror movies and many, many crazy films, that's usually what happens to them. So I'm intrigued. I mean, would you ever want to stay there and find out? I mean, let's put the cost aside. Let's say we were sponsored to stay there. Would you want to stay there and find out?
Yeah, I would. Why not?
I would be intrigued to stay there for sure. I definitely would be. Yeah, I definitely would be, because, like, that would be interesting. Like, real quick, before we sign off here, I remember my friend and I stayed at a hotel in Albuquerque, and when we went there, we had no clue that this entire town was basically haunted. No clue. Like, there was hotels that were built on top of cemeteries and on top of, like, you know, like, previous jail cells, asylums. Like, it was ridiculous. So we don't know that all these places were haunted. And we're passing by, like, 3 haunted places all in a row, not realizing. And even if it wasn't haunted, the fact that it was built on a mental asylum or it was built on a cemetery, like, that's some crazy ass potion for crazy shit to happen. So would I be staying there? Heck no, now that I know this. But I remember, and I feel like maybe this is what probably happens to the people that stayed at the Fairmont hotel as well too. I remember when I was staying there, little things kept happening to me, and I couldn't figure out why. So it would be like really, really simple. Like, I plug my charger in this outlet and it's unplugged on the floor on the opposite end of the room. Or like, I put something down and then I was moved to a different table. Or like, I turned the TV on but now it's off, even though we didn't put it on the timer either. So that was interesting. And then at times, randomly, the toilet would flush itself. And then at one point, I could have sworn the light turned on in the bathroom. And then there was another point where I left the bathroom light on and it was turned off. And I remember asking my friend this whole time, like, why did you do it? Or like, you know, did you do this? And she'd be so confused though, because she's like, I didn't do this. Are you sure you just didn't remember it wrong? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I could have. I mean, who knows, right? So I didn't think much of it. Tell me how, when we decided to go on our little tour, people were telling me that the hotel itself was haunted. So my guess is probably what has happened at the Fairmont, that it's not crazy enough that people are like, oh yeah, I don't want to stay there anymore, it's crazy. It's just probably little things that they question their insanity about and then just moved on with their days. That's my guess, you know. But it's an interesting story, and it kind of disappointed me a little bit that we didn't get more out of it, because, you know, you figure a guy dying on the Titanic, that's already an interesting story alone. And then you get the fact that he's possibly haunting the hotel. I mean, that's a double, like, yes. But then nothing.
Yeah.
But yet it's considered.
You think there are many stories about it?
Mm-hmm.
Considering it's said to be the most haunted hotel in Canada or whatever.
Right.
But like, where are all the stories? Like, there's like, it's so hard to find them. If they are out there, we can't find them.
Right. So it's very interesting. But with that being said, we're going to wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for joining in on our first episode of Fear Feeding Friday. My name is Lena.
My name's Lynn.
And we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.